And now joining us, we have Keith Martin, a very familiar face, and we're going to be talking with him a little bit about the High Country Shakespeare celebration. And today is the big day. It's Shakespeare's birthday.
It is the big day. Can you believe it? Shakespeare was born 450 years ago today.
Wow.
That's April 23rd, 1564. He died on the same day, April 23rd in 1616. But we prefer to remember his birth.
Definitely.
Yes.
Now, talk with us a little bit about what's been going on for the past month in preparation for his birthday. A whole lot of celebrating.
We started 2 years ago today, as a matter of fact, when we realized that, gosh, it's the 448th birthday. 2 years we should do something special.
Yeah.
It's being produced by the High Country Theater League, which is a group of about 3 dozen producing and presenting theater organizations in the expanded High Country. We go all the way over to Mitchell County and get groups like Parkway Playhouse and Mountain Heritage High School. We go to Lenore and pick up a lot of the wonderful groups down there in Caldwell County, Wilkes County, and we decided we would all do plays or projects about William Shakespeare in and around his birthday. We kicked off, as you know, around St. Patrick's Day, and our final event has just been announced this summer. We're bringing up Triad Stage from Greensboro as part of an Appalachian Summer Festival, and they'll do All's Well That Ends Well, which will end the festival.
Perfect.
But today's the focal point. It's the capstone event. It's Shakespeare's birthday. We have not one but two birthday celebrations. The first is at the library at App State, the Belk Library. Your next guest will tell you more about that with Jeremy and the play that's being done. But the one that's free and open to the public is with the Bard Birthday Bash. It's being sponsored by the Boone Mall Merchants Association. It takes place this afternoon from 5 until 6:30. We'll have a cake with the Shakespeare logo on it. The Bard himself, or a modern day replication thereof, is going to be there to cut the cake and sing happy birthday. We'll be doing the Hokey Pokey Bard style, as if he had written the Hokey Pokey. We're also going to be having performances from 10 different groups that have participated in the High Country Shakespeare celebration. I've got a whole list. We're doing Brush Up Your Shakespeare, one of the better known numbers, from Kiss Me Kate, which just closed at Appalachian State University. We're doing the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged. This is the Wilkes Playmakers from up in Wilkesboro. It's all 38 plays that Shakespeare wrote in a single 90-minute entertainment.
Wow.
And they're going to be doing the Othello rap, and they're doing a 3-minute version of Hamlet. That will be followed by A Part Equal, a wonderful program you did about 3 weeks ago by the Appalachian Women's Theater Troupe about all the women who were influenced by the works of Shakespeare or Shakespeare himself. We have Kill Will, which, as you know from yesterday's segment, opens tonight in the Ballborg Theater at Appalachian State. So Derek Davidson and Karen Sabo, both of whom you had on the program yesterday, will be bringing their cast over for a preview of that Kill Will excerpts. Birds of the Bard promotion, your third guest, Betty Bond, will talk about that, but they'll be there doing a little promo announcement about that. We're doing a sonnet slam. You know, Shakespeare wrote more than just plays.
That's
so
right.
the Blue Ridge Community Theater is doing a sonnet slam. They'll have excerpts from that. Then we have the advanced acting class that's doing Shakespeare scenes. They're at App State. They're going to be interspersing through most of the segments. We also have the theater education students who are doing some audience participation things, such as the Hokey Pokey and other theater games.
Fantastic.
It's going to be fun.
It
It's
sounds like
free.
it.
It's right there in the atrium where you do your December broadcast. As a matter of fact, I was sitting last December watching you do your remote broadcast. I thought, wow, that's a great space. We should do something there. And we decided to do something birthday bash. I remembered seeing you. And we approached the folks at Boone Mall, and they've just been terrific. Meredith Golden is our host. Betty Bond's our event chair. And then we've got literally about 100 artists coming this afternoon to participate in the event.
Wow.
That's amazing.
This is fantastic. Now, again, you said you've been planning for this for about 2 years.
About 2 years.
That's crazy. But talk with us a little bit about kind of how this started and the steps you guys have taken for today.
In the fall of 2011, we formed the High Country Theater League, and we just kept identifying more and more theater groups. We ended up with a list of about 3 dozen groups, and we thought we'd bring them all together. And there were many people who've been in the High Country area for decades who hadn't met other theater people who had also been here for decades.
Right.
Because we're also busy in our own little theater worlds during our own little shows. So it's a great meet and greet, people putting names to faces that they've known for a long time. And we wanted to do some project work in a service organization, and we're looking for something that we called a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, something big enough that each theater could participate on an equal basis.
Right.
Whether it's Watauga High School doing scenes from Shakespeare, or our professional company Ensemble Stage, which is doing Macbeth as a radio drama. They'll also do some promotional activities around that this afternoon. It was something we could all participate on an equal basis. There was plenty of lead time so people could set their own schedules to know they had something in April or May or even into June now with the triad stage and starting as early as March.
Wow. So tons and tons of people involved in this.
I think that the two benefits are, one is the awareness. People are aware that theater exists in the high country beyond the one or two companies with which they might have been familiar. And the other thing is crossover audiences. We're having people go to Kiss Me Kate and see this is happening at other theaters and then show up.
Right.
So it's the crossover audiences and people traveling from not a very far distance, but leaving their little comfort zone and their little community to see something on another stage with which they may not be as familiar.
Definitely.
Yes.
Now, Shakespeare, an incredible guy. Talk with us about his impact on theater.
One of my favorite projects is the Royal Shakespeare Company in London is doing Hamlet today in every country in the world.
Wow.
Every country on the planet. They've been working for 5 years on their celebration. They've identified theater companies and theater troupes and are sending out some of their actors and some of their former company members, and they're doing Hamlet in every country on the globe. I think that's just terrific.
It's amazing.
And the BBC is doing live cut-ins 4 times an hour, various countries and the same scenes from Hamlet in different languages, which I think is pretty universal. He is the greatest writer in the English-speaking language. He's the most produced playwright in history. Number 2, by the way, is a woman, Agatha Christie. Number 3 is an American playwright, Neil Simon. But Shakespeare is number 1 with a bullet. I don't think anyone will ever catch him.
No, probably not. Now, talk with us a little bit about some of the productions that have been going on leading up to today. Is it difficult to do a Shakespeare play? I would imagine the wording is a little difficult to catch on to.
People are afraid of Shakespeare. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite book series is called Shakespeare, or No Fear, Shakespeare, that kind of thing. It's really intimidating at first, but once you start looking at it, it's really very accessible. I mean, there's Shakespeare children's plays that are quite accessible to elementary school students. I think about, when you think about Shakespeare and the impact he's had on our language, it's something like 2,500 words in the Oxford English Dictionary that were created by Shakespeare to fit the scene.
Wow.
When you look at Bartlett's familiar quotation, a rose by any other name, there are so many things that are in the modern day vernacular that you trace back to Shakespeare plays or sonnets or other poetry. It's just the impact. I don't know if anyone has had a greater impact. Can you name anybody else who was living in the late 1500s, early 1600s? I mean, Shakespeare is the name on everyone's lips, especially today.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, is there a favorite play of his that you have?
Well, I always say the most recent play. I mean, I can tell you my favorite history play, which would be Henry V. My favorite, Macbeth, if you want to go to the tragedies and things like that. I'm a huge fan of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And we have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 production of Midsummer Night's Dream being done everywhere from Asheville to Lenore and up in Wilkes County, all over the place.
Wow.
But it's not just Shakespeare plays that we're having performed. The complete works of William Shakespeare Bridge is by 3 comics, who were unemployed and got together and started doing little comedy sketches around Shakespeare's plays. And then they put it into an entire evening's entertainment.
Right.
So Wilkes Playmakers, they don't often perform in Boone, but you'll be able to see them this afternoon. Also, where else can you go and sample the works of 10 different companies in a 90-minute period of time, free of charge?
Absolutely.
And the Boone Mall is so accessible, and the Merchants Association is providing food and beverage so people can have some light refreshments as they enjoy the performances. Each of the participating groups has an information table, so if you want to get tickets to Kill Will, which opens tonight, the Valborg Theater at App State, bang, it's right there for you. You want to get on information about the Appalachian Theater on right there on King Street that's being renovated, there's a sign-up sheet so you can have your name added to the mailing list. It really is one-stop shopping, no pun intended, with regard to Shakespeare and theater at Boone Mall.
Definitely.
Perfect.
Now, I read yesterday that Shakespearean dress is encouraged. Talk with us about that.
A lot of the actors will be performing in Shakespearean garb or contemporary versions thereof. There was a wonderful production of Love Labor's Lost that was done about a month and a half ago at App State in the Department of Theater and Dance, and they used modern dress. The wonderful thing about Shakespeare, I have seen Trojan women set on a planet in intergalactic space in the next millennium. There are modern versions of Macbeth where it's set during the Vietnam War.
Right.
I mean, it's so malleable to whatever production concept and time, and the stories are timeless. I mean, look at Romeo and Juliet, for example. You know the modernized version, you know the futuristic version that was done as a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio a few years back. They really are, I think, they lend themselves to modern interpretation.
Definitely.
Yes.
So if people do want to come in full out dress and get really into the
They
spirit.
don't have to dress, but you'll see many people there in Elizabethan costume, Italian Renaissance, where some of his plays were set. Tammy the Shrew, which, as you know, was parodied in Kiss Me Kate, that takes place in the Italian Renaissance, centuries before Shakespeare was born. So, I mean, it's all over the map. It really
Sounds
is.
wonderful.
And the whole history plays. I mean, you go back to, I mean, it covers almost every monarch in English rule in various history plays. So, I mean, it'd be tough to define an exact period of time.
It's really anything you want to come in is fine.
Or come as you are. And,
Yes.
and just watch the performers and entertain it. That's what it's all about.
Sounds great. Now, what is the main thing that you are hoping people will take away from the High Country Shakespeare Celebration?
That the breadth and depth and quality of theater is far more than they ever imagined. I also like the fact that it's been embraced by groups like the Audubon Society. You know, with the Birds of the Bard, you'll hear about later in the program. There's a hotel who's offering a bed and bard package for people who are coming up to see some of the Shakespeare events. There's a local restaurant that has a steaks beer special. You get a steak and a beer. I mean, everyone has just embraced this and run with it. I just love that fact.
Absolutely.
We have elementary schools participating. We have monologue competitions, scene study. I mean, everyone has just jumped in. That's the great part about it.
That is
Definitely.
great.
Do you have a favorite Shakespeare play?
I have to say, I'm pretty original with this. I'm a Romeo and Juliet fan.
That is most person's first Shakespeare.
Yes.
Exposure to Shakespeare. How about you?
Romeo and Juliet, I like
Really?
that.
Oh, you're such romantics.
No, until all the sappy stuff.
But
Girl problems.
look at West Side Story, for example. You know, a seminal work in the American musical theater, 1957, based on Romeo and Juliet with the Sharks versus the Jets.
Right.
There's so many modern interpretations of Shakespeare's plays. Kiss Me Kate being one of them. You know, based on the
Absolutely.
musical version of Tammy the Shrew. We could go on and on and on.
And that is the neat thing. It's not just his plays that have lasted, but his plays have inspired so many other plays and so many other works.
And playwrights. You know, you've got
Absolutely.
the meter, the verse, the rhyme, the rhythm. You think about Shakespeare, he studied in English classes, history classes, theater classes. You know, you've got music from Shakespeare plays and that have been set in sonnets. You know, it's just, you study it everywhere. You can't get away from it.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like this afternoon is going to be so much fun. Remind us the details one more time.
It's at Boone Mall, right here on Blowing Rock Highway here in Boone. It starts at 5 o'clock this afternoon and runs till 6:30. It is free of charge. It's open to the general public. They're family-friendly scenes. There'll be nothing you'll have to explain to your children. So please come one, come all. We do have a website, which is highcountryshakespeare.org. That is a list of all the activities. It's also on the Boone Mall website.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for coming to talk with us
Thanks,
today.
Roberts. Promote it.
Yes,
Absolutely. And we will be back right after these messages with more of the Mountain Television Network.